This is Unsolicited Coaching, episode number 1 with your money mom. So most of you know that I am Nancy Piccioni, a freelance writer and a money coach, and I help people get better with money. My website is yourmoneymom.com, and people do actually pay me money to help them work through some money issues, paying off credit card debt, just figuring out how they want to spend their money. But I often read articles and I think, oh gosh, I just want to give them some unsolicited coaching advice. And I thought, why don't I do that? So this is an ongoing series, but this is episode number 1. And it's going to be based on an article that was in the NYTimes just a few days ago. It is by Molly Webster. The headline is, I've spent $60,000 to pay back student loans and know more than before I began. So Molly Webster is a writer and science reporter and the senior correspondent for WNYC's Radio Lab, which is a very popular podcast and radio show. So, and let me just go through some of her details. So she's started out after college and grad school with $78,000 in student loans. She's paid off $60,000 so far, but her loans now are more than $100,000. And that's because at different times she had to do forbearance, because of low income, and also some of her loans have high interest rates. And the thing that makes her situation kind of unique is there was a time when the federal government went through private banks to provide federal loans. It was called the Family Federal Education Loans Program. It no longer exists, but people who are in that, their loans are not actually considered federal loans. So just to back up very briefly, for student loans for college or grad school, you can get federal loans and you can get private loans. This was kind of this weird in-between thing, but hers are not considered federal loans, and that's really important for the advice I would give. She had an interesting expression. She called them Goldilocks. It's a Goldilocks loan, not quite federal, not quite private, not quite right. So just a couple of quotes from the article. I have watched friends buy cars, houses, stocks. Meanwhile, every decision I make is limited by this debt. And I do not doubt that, and I really feel for you. She also said, we Goldilocksers are caught in a loophole with no end in sight. Okay, don't agree with that, so let's talk about some of your options. But again, I want to be as kind as possible. I think we can all get better together, and let's go through this. So, unsolicited coaching, student loan debt. All right, so first of all, let me just say that I could be you. So I am many years older than you are, and I had student loans back in the day, a long, long time ago. My student loans are, when I put the information in there, there were about with the equivalent of $40,000 in today's money back in the 1980s. I genuinely have no idea. Were they federal? Were they private? I just do not even know. So I was very clueless, just like many people are about those things. Mine were paid off many, many years ago. I did have stable employment in journalism, actually, but mine are paid off, but that's not because I'm so great or anything. It just so happens mine are paid off. So I do not even have the information about my loans from way back when. And that's okay. A lot of people really don't have a sense of how their finances are. But if you find yourself in trouble, it's like, okay, let me find out what I can do. What is my situation? So here's the information I want you to gather. And this would be for anybody with student loan debt, and especially if they feel like they're being drowned with it. So here's the information to gather. First is your credit score. And so what you're going to do is we're going to go back to the article, and we're going to go to annualcreditreport.com. I guess I can move this over. And annualcreditreport.com is here we go. It's run by the credit bureaus, so it's kind of mandated by the federal government that they have to provide you with credit scores. So this is a legit site where you can get your information. You can put the information in here, get your, it's actually not going to have your actual credit score, but it is going to show your credit report and all your debts and things, and give you a sense of it. The other place you can get your actual credit score is if you have a credit card. Almost every credit card now has like a free credit scorecard or credit journey or something like that, where it will give you your actual number. It may not be entirely accurate, but it should be pretty good. And that'll factor into your options later. Oops. Sorry. Okay. And then the next thing is you should make a list of all of your loans and the interest rates. In the article, I think she talks about having 8.5% on one of them, but I don't know what the other ones look like. Also, your personal savings rate. So this will be for anybody. You can add up things like how much you're putting in retirement accounts at work or that you put in an emergency fund. I'll try to put a link in the article to it. It can get kind of specific, but just to know how much you're saving, which is helpful. And then also your retirement saving options are important because, again, I want you to stop putting off saving for retirement, putting off doing things with your money. And so considering your retirement saving options are really important so you're not leaving money on the table. And then also any additional income options. So in the article, she mentions freelancing or doing different side gigs. So is that something that can be increased? Okay, so I'm going to go through all the ideas. First of all, you can do this. I want you to consider abandoning the idea of federal loan forgiveness, which is talked about in the article quite a bit. I want you to consider and explore refinancing. I want you to consider improving your income to pay off the loans faster. And most importantly, do not put off your present or your future because you're in this tough situation right now, okay? That is a really important thing. Okay, so the idea one is consider abandoning the idea of federal loan forgiveness. In the article, I think she's hoping the federal government will reclassify this loan program as federal loans, and then she would be within the CARES Act right now, which if everyone who has federal loans is paused right now, you don't have to pay interest, you don't have to pay payments, which is an awesome opportunity for anybody with federal loans. We'll get to that later. But I just think this idea should be given up, first of all. And also anybody there who's waiting for the federal government to forgive their loans. The most I've seen as a realistic idea of things to be forgiven would be like as much, maybe $10,000. So she has significantly more than that. Sometimes people have more than that. And so I would recommend do not, wait for that to happen because things can just get worse in terms of interest rates. And so I would give up that idea. Okay. And then the idea too I have is to strongly consider refinancing your student loans. So you want a list of your loans, as we mentioned, interest rates, and then you can compare to current student loan refinance rates and run the numbers. And so I'm going to share a website, and I know there are others, but I just really respect them. This is Student Loan Planner, and they do have, you can pay them money to consult about it, and that can be an option for people. But you also, they have a lot of free information here and refinance places. So again, you don't have to do anything just yet, but you could definitely look around on this website and consider what your rate could be based on your credit score. And that's one of the reasons you need your credit score. So refinance, yes, no. Considering and exploring refinancing, if your credit score is lower than 650, I think you probably want to spend a few months improving your credit score first. I have some information about that. I'll try to link an article below. If your credit score is above 650, hopefully a lot more, then explore refinance options because you should be able to get a pretty good rate to refinance, way less than the 8% that you're talking about. And as I mentioned, Student Loan Planner, and there's certainly other places as well. Okay, and then my third and most important idea is do not put off your present or your future for what's going on right now. So first, increasing options, increased savings rate, even though you have this debt. And in particular, I want you to explore retirement savings options. So surely WNYC, or again, most employers have 401k options or different things, and many times they will match. I hope they offer that. And then you really need to take full advantage of that if possible. It's going to lower your tax rate. There's just so many good reasons to do that. So I would not hold off on saving for retirement or doing other things actually for right now that just because you have this debt. Okay, so takeaways from people who aren't Molly Webster, because again, this is kind of a unique situation that she was in, but just in general, let's talk about people with student loans. So first of all, like I mentioned, you can do this. You can figure out a strategy to pay off your loans. To know your loans, do you have federal? Do you have private? How many do you have? What are their interest rates? Consider and explore refinancing. Now, if anyone out there is listening who has federal student loans, do not do a thing until at least September 30th, because right now they are paused. So you are in a great situation. Don't pay on them. Don't do anything, and work out what you need to do before September 30th, 2021. Also consider improving your income to pay off. There's a lot of side gigs and things people can do. And also, do not put off your present or your future. So refinancing, yes. So refinancing, you should consider refinancing if your loans are not federal loans, if you have a decent credit score above 650, and you can refinance as many times as you want. I wouldn't recommend doing it more than every 2 years or so, because it can hurt your credit score just a little bit, but temporarily. So, consider that. Refinancing no is if you have current federal loans, as I mentioned. If you have a lower credit score or just a really small balance that you just want to get it out of the way. Okay, as I mentioned, if you have federal student loans, pay nothing now. You are in a unique opportunity if you have federal student loans to make a plan. At the same time, I strongly recommend you set aside money for the payments that you would have been having now if we weren't having a pandemic. So if you put those aside, that can help you, give you some options when you figure out what to do, and then run the numbers for potential refinancing in the future, because private student loans generally have a lower interest rate than federal student loans. At the same time, federal loans have a lot of flexibility, like what we're talking about in this pandemic. But for many people, refinancing could work out, but not right now if you have federal student loans. Leave them be. General student loan advice that I have read, and again, you can do your own research, is that if your total loan balance is less than 1 time your annual salary, you can work a plan to pay it off. If it's more than 1 time your annual salary, you really want to consider consulting, like with Student Loan Planner or one of these other places. So you can do research on that. And then again, like I said, don't put off the present or the future because of the debt. Do not avoid or defer retirement savings, your life, doing things, and so forth. Okay. And then just final thoughts. I hope you like this unsolicited coaching. Let me know what you think. And tune in again. I'll do another one soon.